Hi, this is Alan Cowgill, and I'd like to spend a few minutes with you just talking about something that's very confusing in our industry, and it has to do with private money versus the SEC rules, and so many folks are confused about this, so I've worked on clearing that up. You know, when folks get into real estate, I see them go through an evolution. Like, one is how to fund the deals, and they hear about banks, and I find that 85% of the folks I talk to before they meet me are typically going into to banks to get their money. Well, that's one of the hardest ways to do it. And finally, the student hears about what is private lending, and then they want to know a handful of them, not all, but a handful of them want to know, is there any rules? Well, real estate investors are confused by what is private lending to start with. And then when they hear about the SEC, they get even more confused or maybe even fear of it because they're fearful about the fact that they don't know what the rules are and they're uninformed. Frankly, the rules are very, very easy to follow. And or they can be hear horror stories about somebody that's gotten in trouble with the SEC, some real estate investor, where they get fines or jails, and that can happen. But you know, if you're educated on it, it shouldn't happen. The reason that this does happen, though, people get in trouble, is because of lack of knowledge or they just refuse to follow the rules. In fact, I was out at the Sea Turtle Inn in Jacksonville, Florida, many, many years ago before I was a teacher. And I was just starting to learn about private lending. And I went out in the hallway and asked a gentleman that had a lot of private lenders, is there any rules? And he says, no, we're exempt. Go do what you want. And I remember that conversation very distinctly because a few years later, he followed his own rules, created a Ponzi scheme, and ended up in jail. And it's really unfortunate because I like the guy, but he refused to follow the rules. Um, and the rules are easy. You know, I found that real estate investors have a burning desire to understand the SEC compliance rules. And frankly, it's amazing at how much they want to learn about this. And what that led me to do was hire an attorney. I hired an SEC attorney to research every state across the United States and Canada so I could figure out what the heck the rules were. I'm not an attorney, so I had to bring in some help. And then I even bring my SEC attorney into my live event. He does a half a day of training out of the 4-day event. And, I've created SEC training audios with his help, and I hold SEC training webinars many times with his guidance. And then I've created SEC home study system definitely with his input. You see, it just isn't the Wild West out there when you borrow money from private lenders. There are some rules. The good news is that the rules are easy to follow. The bad news is that they're hard to find. SEC, they aren't going to teach us the rules. They'd rather have you work with an SEC attorney to find out what it is. Well, those are expensive, and it's hard to find that information out on the internet. So, so that's why folks struggle with it. And after I hired this attorney, I had a mountain of powerful SEC information available to me. But even after all this effort with my SEC attorney, I noticed that my students were still struggling to nail the SEC requirements when it comes to their very own business. My students now had the knowledge of the SEC requirements, a bunch of it, the knowledge of the SEC regulations, and they knew that it was easy to follow. The knowledge that the SEC was not to be toyed with. In fact, I use the term many times that with the SEC, you're dancing with a girl and they're leading, so you better follow the rules. I'm very pro following rules on them, with them, and my students had their own desires on what they wanted to do, and they had a hard time getting it to fit, even though they had all this knowledge. You see, there wasn't a roadmap to get them across the finish lines, or in other words, to get them exactly what they could utilize within their own business and what steps they needed to take. So I wanted to match it up. I wanted to match up what the real estate investor needed, what my students needed to run their business, and correlated over to the SEC requirements. And I thought I had that when I paid this attorney to go do that, but actually there was a gap. This roadmap wasn't available. We could present a lot of information, but when it comes down to the rubber meeting the road, my students were still confused. And frankly, it was a challenge. At first, it didn't seem like there was any ways that I could pull this off. There wasn't a clear pattern. The potential combinations were huge, and it had to be simple for my students because I didn't want to put something out there that was more confusing for them. There's already enough confusion going on. At my live events, I brought my attorney in. He was outstanding. Students Got a great training. In fact, I've heard people call him a Mensa before, guys, and they just loved him. He's a great trainer. So what sets my attorney apart from nearly any other SEC attorney out there was these two major items. One is I paid him a ton of money to go research every single state and Canada. So we had a broad brush approach of what's allowed within every state, and also we had a laser beam approach of what was allowed within each state. So in doing so, my SEC attorney got a great education and on what the laws are needed to comply with as creative real estate investors when it comes to working with private lenders as it relates back to the SEC. For my students, this was a marriage made in heaven and critical to their success. So the next hurdle out there was I needed to know exactly what my students wanted to do. Some of them wanted to cross state lines, not all, but a few, where properties in one state and the lenders in another state. Or they want to go, there's some thresholds out there in dollars and lenders, and you can go unlimited. You just need to know what the first level is, and then how to get to the unlimited. Advertise. A lot of my students want to advertise. Well, there's some rules on that. And raising multi-millions of dollars, how do you go about doing that, and how do you comply with the SEC, and so much more. And then compare that to what the SEC allowed them to do. What my students couldn't get to the bottom line of what was allowed within their business. And I called here A to Z. You see, my attorney couldn't solve that. That wasn't what I paid him for. It would have been nice to have that, but his job was to do research, not create a tool out there. The SEC sure hadn't solved it. And other trainers sure hadn't solved it. And I saw a need, and I wanted to fill it for my students. And frankly, it became a quest. I felt if I didn't do it, it would never, ever get done. And that would be sad and a huge loss for our industry. And I saw myself in a position, based on what the steps I had taken with my SEC attorney, that maybe I could pull this off. And I did it. It took me 2.5 years to on and off to get it. But then I nailed it, and I created what's called the Navigating the SEC Highway. Kind of look at it like a GPS. How do you get from where you're at now to where you want to be? And let me go through the components of this. One is on navigating the SEC Home Study System, which allows you to pick what you want to do with your business and then correlate it over to the exact program you should use to be in SEC compliance. Frankly, there's nothing else like this on the planet. The heart of this is I created this easy to follow matrix on picking 3 choices. Pick 3 items, and boom, it immediately gives you what you can do with the SEC. And frankly, I'm taking this up a whole nother level and creating a website where you can do it on a website and have it instantly give you the results. There's a 21-minute training video where I show you exactly how to utilize this simple yet powerful matrix that I created. Plus, there's a 100-page manual that tells you all the main areas of the SEC, like crossing state lines and pooling money and different items like that, advertising, that the SEC controls. And you'll be amazed how easy it is to use my proprietary matrix, which is also in the manual. I also walk you through step by step how to utilize the matrix. Allows you quickly and easily to determine which SEC rules apply to you, which is what my students are looking for. They don't care about all the rules. They just want to know what works for them, right? Based on how much money you want to raise and whether you can advertise and when you can advertise, and crossing state lines and pooling money from your investors. Also, what I did was I recorded my SEC attorney that comes to my live event that folks paid thousands of dollars to attend, and I captured 4 different live events, and I created 10 audios of my attorneys teaching on stage. This is 11 hours, unbelievable, 11 hours of my SEC attorney teaching his heart out about real estate investors in the SEC at 4 of my recent events. Now think about this. Part of this is Q&A from my students and think about what you can learn from that. It's very powerful. These audios are very compelling. I mean, I've listened to every word in them, and you don't want to shut them off. They are insightful. They are riveting. You will love them. And in the last 4 audios, he gets in about the new regulations on the Jobs Act. Many people are saying, hey, I hear I can advertise. Well, that's only partially true. And you need to know what's allowed there. If you had to go out and pay an attorney for 11 hours at $350 an hourly fee, that's $3,850 if you'd hire an attorney. And frankly, that attorney's not going to be as good as mine, because my attorney has been paid to research every single state and exactly what we need. And your attorney most likely will have to go in and figure out what real estate investors really need and what's allowed. Well, this system, Navigating the SEC Home Study System, will sell for $697 as a hard copy on my website. But my office staff was saying, hey, Alan, give folks a killer deal on this. And the only way I can do that is to go digital. So let me talk to you about that. But first off, if you're confused, unaware, maybe even afraid of the requirements by the SEC when it comes to borrowing private money, then this is without question an answer to your dreams. How would you like to be able to quickly and easily determine your SEC classification requirements without spending thousands of dollars on attorney fees? I've already done that for us. Or waste hours and hours of your own valuable personal time searching the internet trying to figure it out. And I've done that for a little bit. That's crummy. Are you ready to secure the future of your business and ensure that you don't spend sleepless nights worrying about the SEC? Well, that's what Navigating the SEC solves for you. I'm going to give you two options here. Option number one is you can get it for $97 instantly, and then just two more payments of $97. And all you have to do is go to www.navigatingthesec.com, and you can get your hands on it in the next couple minutes. Or if you want to save even more money than that, rather than a payment plan, if you just want to make one payment, you even save some more money on this. For $249, you go to www.navigatingthesec.info. The $97 offer times 3 is .com. The one-time payment is .info, and you can get started. Here's what Kevin Durr, he works for me. He's my acquisitions manager. And when he saw what I'd created, he said, Alan, he said 98% of your students need this system. That made an impact on me. He went on to say, the bottom line is it eliminates the confusion and eliminates the fear that so many real estate investors are dealing with when it comes to the SEC. This is the roadmap that they need. Order now and you get a special bonus. I'll also send you the manual, the 100-page manual. You not only get it instantly as a download, I'll also mail it to you as a hard copy. It's only, I got a charge for shipping and handling. It's $9.95 for that. You got 7 days to check it out, and if it's not for you, you get a prompt and courteous refund. Well, there's how you order again. If you want to get your hands on my new Navigating the SEC Highway Home Study System, you can get it as a digital download for $97 now, and then just two more payments 30 days apart. Go to navigatingthesec.com, or even save more money and just pay $249, one payment, navigatingthesec.info, not .com on that one, .info, and you can save some more money. So your choice, pick the one that you want, and you will love it. You will love my system.